25th, 2021. Supposed to start at 7:30. We're all running a little bit late. It's nice to see a packed house tonight. Thank you very much for showing up. Even in the rain, we like to see you. So the first order of business is, as soon as I get to my agenda, is to call the regular session to order and to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is the roll call. Present.
Here.
Present.
Present.
Here.
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 Next is the approval of the regular session meeting agenda.
Yes, I make a motion to approve the regular session meeting agenda with one addition, and that addition is to establish ad hoc study committee for the Sarah Fisher property.
So we'll add that as new business 5A.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second?
Support.
Seconded, moved by Mayor Pro Tem Bolaware, seconded by Councilmember Strickfaden. This is a roll call vote? Regular vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It passes unanimously. Next item is proclamation recognizing November 1st as Extra Mile Day. Mr. Bridges, could you read that for us?
Yes. Extra Mile Day. Yes, Madam Mayor. Proclamation Extra Mile Day, November 1st, 2021. Whereas Farmington Hills is a city which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. Whereas the city of Farmington Hills encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contributions to society by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas Farmington Hills chooses to shine a light on celebrate individuals and organizations who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas the city of Farmington Hills acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create more than 500 extra mile cities in our country, and is proud to support the Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2021. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Vicki Barnett, the mayor of the city of Farmington Hills, on behalf of City Council, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2021 to be Extra Mile Day, and urge all members of the community to not only go the extra mile in their own lives, but also to acknowledge those individuals who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, families, communities, countries, or world a better place.
Thank you very much. Do we have anybody receiving this proclamation today? Great, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the introduction of the new Economic Development Director, Tia Brockway.
Hi, I'm Tia. No, I'm just kidding.
I called her Tina. I called her Tina last week. So.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Yes, we are very happy to introduce Tia this evening. As you know, we lost our Economic Development Director back in December of 20, so it's been almost a year. We spent a long time vetting through applicants to find the right person that we think will grow and thrive here in our fine community. And so with that, we're very happy to have Tia on board, and I'm going to introduce you to her right now. Tia, come on up.
It's been a week now, huh?
Yeah. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I came from Taylor. I worked there as their business development coordinator for almost 6 years, and some background in community development as well. So It's no fear of mine to dabble in my toolbox of economic development and the rest of the resources and incentives that I am knowledgeable of, and also to knock on doors of my neighbors and business community just to see how I can help and learn really who's who and what's what. So I'm very much so looking forward to being here and, progressively moving forward with all of you. So thank you for letting me on your team.
Thank you. Welcome. It was so nice to come into the office last week and see somebody finally in that empty space. Well, I'm sure they were probably happy to see me in an empty space too, but it was great to meet you last week, and I know you're going to do a great job for us. Thank you. Next item is correspondence. Does anybody have any correspondence? Ken?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I did receive one letter. I'm not sure if anybody else on council received it. It was from some residents on Purdue Street having a challenge with some water, some flooding on the street, and a question on some patching. And I forwarded that to the city manager and Ms. Mondoro.
Okay.
Mayor.
Anybody else? Yeah, Mr. Bridges.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I received one correspondence from, I think, Beth Hewlett. She had a comment regarding an industrial situation near her home.
Right.
Blight as well as noise. And in your absence, Mr. City Manager, I gave it to your assistant, Joe Valentine, and he's working it right now to determine the best path toward resolving the problems there. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I think a lot of us received that email, right. Anyone else? Nope. I received several emails regarding some power outage issues and concerns over power outages, and I think that's pretty endemic in our community right now. So we've responded, and we met earlier this evening with DTE and their higher-ups to talk about a plan to make sure that we can continue with reliable service instead of the massive outages that we've been suffering. And that brings us to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which case the items will be removed and added, removed from the consent agenda and added for consideration. So Council Member Mayor Pro Tem Bolaware, would you read the consent agenda?
Consent agenda for October 25th. Recommended authorization to enter into an agreement with David Walsh to provide Michigan Indigenous Defense Commission, MIDC, grant administration services in an amount not to exceed $28,560, CMR 10-21-98. Recommended adoption of a resolution establishing the Verdum Street Water Main Payback District and the final payback cost at CMR 10-21-99. Recommended adoption of a performance resolution for city projects in the Michigan Department of Transportation, MDOT, right-of-way, CMR 10-21-100. Recommended approval of award of proposal for 2021 automotive fluids purchased to Rowley's Wholesale in the amount of $40,000 with possible extensions, CMR 10-21-101. Number 10, recommended authorization for repairs to the fuel systems at the DPW facility, the police department, and the park and golf facility to Oscar W. Larson Company in the amount of $48,810, that's CMR 10-21-102. Number 11, recommended approval of award of bid for the purchase and installation of 3 pickup truck snowplows to Truck and Trailer Specialties in the amount of $19,404, CMR 10-21-103. Recommended approval of award of contract to refurbish the Salt Dome Conveyor System to Kimco USA in an amount not to exceed $28,843. That's CMR 10-21-104. Acknowledgement of the first quarter financial summary and investment reports and fourth quarter preliminary year-end financial summary report. And number 14, recommended approval of the City Council regular session meeting minutes of October 11th, 2021.
Okay, is there a motion?
Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Bridges?
Mayor, I move that council approve the consent agenda as read by our Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, is there a second?
Support.
It's been seconded, it's been moved by Mr. Bridges, seconded by Mr. Strickfaden and Ms. Knoll and Ms. Newland. This is a roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, and that brings us to public questions and comments. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less for any item of city business that is not on the agenda. Hello,
Hello there.
how are you, John?
I'm good. I'm John Aldred. Madam Mayor, council members. Following up on the study session this evening, I'd like to make a few comments tonight on the issue of power outages and the reliability of our power supply in Farmington Hills. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Mayor, for your participating in the Michigan Public Service Commission conference on Friday and the panel discussion with civic leaders, and also the mayor's and the council's efforts to bring DTE to the table, resulting in tonight's study session, so thank you for that. Like many residents, I've experienced these outages firsthand this year, but primarily this evening I want to comment as an engineer with some experiences of durability and reliability engineering. You know, I heard comments this evening about the fact of, we don't want to be in the same place in 3 years' time. How do we build trust with DTE? I think it's a great comments and great questions. And I fully agree with Councilmember Mass's comment that what we need is a project plan that we can come back to, and not just give a plan now and then let's hope it all works out, but something that we follow up on with a regular cadence to be agreed and determined. But that's really important. And I'd like to suggest tonight we take this even a stage further. What I'd like to recommend to council is that we be clear what is the problem we're actually solving. It's not good enough to say that we must improve reliability. That's not enough. How are we defining it in this case? If you look at the most recent DTE report, there were several circuits in Farmington Hills that are statistically amongst the worst in the whole service area. 15 circuits in Farmington and Farmington Hills were ranked in the worst 10% performing circuits. So there are statistics that define how these circuits are performing. So we need a number. We need a clear goal so that we know whether we've achieved it or not. In this case, it might be a couple of statistics that we need to track the performance, so that we can track the performance, and it may take us several years to get there. But if we don't actually have a measurable target of what is our baseline reliability now, DTE saying, oh yeah, we've improved reliability, it means nothing. That's all what they've put on these sheets is we're going to do this tree trimming, and it's going to say, and we're going to improve reliability. What does that mean? Where's that going to get us to? And so it's really important. Speaking as a process improvement, and I just had a quick chat with Joe Musala afterwards, fully agreed. That's what we need, is we actually need to have a baseline reliability, and then we can track how we're performing against it. I just want to point out that it's all very well to say 70 or 80% is trees that's causing the problem, and that may be true, but there's also 20 or 30% in there that isn't. And so what are we doing about that? And unless we have a baseline that even looks at it with or without weather, what the effect is, we have no idea. Lastly, I just want to point out that DTE issued a report on the 1st of October. I expect, Mayor, you read that. They issued it to the MPSC. In figure 11 on that document has a whole diagram of the whole service area, and it shows Farmington Hills. If you zoom in on Farmington Hills, it has various categories of work planned. Farmington Hills is not designated as tree trimming. It's designated as infrastructure redesign. I just asked DT about that. They didn't know the answer, why that is the case. He said, well, it may be to do with voltage change. I said, would that improve reliability? He said, oh, yeah, sure it would. Okay, so it's not all about tree trimming. My point is, it's great. We need to have a process in place that we track, and we also need to have a baseline measure of what actually is the reliability that we have in this city, so that over the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, we're not guessing, is the reliability better, but we actually have a true metric with which we can say, DTE done a great job, or DTE, no, we're not getting there. What are we going to do differently? So that's my recommendation to councillors. We take some sort of that, which is basic continuous improvement, process improvement approach. And I think DTA, will agree that that's the case.
We're trying to get them there, yes. Thank you very, very much, and thank you for attending tonight. Those were very good ideas, and we will make sure that we follow up on those. Anyone else for public questions and comment? Yes.
Hello, Mayor, Council. Hi. Brian Ellis here. Also speaking on behalf of my wife, Eliza Ellis, my beautiful 2 boys, Ari Ellis, who's 2 years old, Benjamin Ellis, who's 4 years old, and I have a third on the way in January, so going into the 3rd trimester here.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Here in reference here to more Articles 652 to 57, more about potentially dangerous animals. And before I dive into that, I wanted to thank Vicky, Council, Chief King, others, his officers and detectives, and everyone, honestly, for your service and replies, and honestly talking about a sensitive issue. Someone who's never come to a council meeting before and was only moved here about a year ago, really appreciate that. So I really wholeheartedly, and so is my whole family. So that's where it's coming from here, most importantly. Had a situation here not too long ago where I thought did everything right as a citizen, as a father, to really follow the proper protocol to keep my family safe. And what that really meant to boil down was that a pit bull mutt moved in next door that was transferred through several owners, and I had an aggressive situation where the owner struggled to restrain it to me. My beautiful boys were standing behind me, and I said, this is just unacceptable in so many different ways. So with that, read different legislation, spent many hours educating myself, talked with many of you. And with that, really just wanted to, first of all, first and foremost, make an introduction. No, if this is a hot mic, I'm sorry. Is this feeding back a lot?
No, it's fine.
It's feeding back here a lot. So I saw Gary stepping back and trying to read that hot mic. I'll just step back a little bit. But I know we got to record. But long story short, 652 in certain areas on ultimately how we identify some of these animals. And I have sensitivity to breeds, and honestly, growing up in a household that bred animals, I acknowledge that and respect that, and everyone's right for ownership. But something that I will want to continue working with others, and Randy and others who replied here that this 10-year-old legislation is something that I feel that definitely needs to be dug up, and specifically in these areas. Terminology where ordinary and reasonable people like myself have to file this claim is what I think I'm doing. But since it doesn't meet certain threshold, therefore, it's up to me as a citizen to fence my yard, which I'm doing and investing in. It's up to me to put a gate up, which I'm doing and I'm investing in. But the common feedback here is that I really want to focus on what we're trying to do here, and really that is the transfer of the animals. Just like if there was a dangerous individual or anything, or a sex offender of anything, we would be notified if there was something hazardous. And again, someone raising their hand who's not an expert in this area by any means, like the other individuals, there's common sense that we need to find, whereas why are these breeds banned on every military base in the United States? The government helps keep us safe. They're keeping our soldiers safe. There are no pit bulls on military bases for a reason. Why are states, Maryland, others ban these? Why are other counties around Michigan able to have this sort of tracking and sort of identify this when citizens do say, hey, there was something a little wrong here. Dogs shouldn't show their teeth and owners shouldn't struggle. We should have a certain next escalation, whereas a post-it note from Oakland County Control on the door, or I called over the phone for an assessment, is just unacceptable. And as me, as a family member, and again, as a father, I just wanted to reemphasize that. I want to really hone in that. Matthew, thank you for, I understand your understanding too on some of these items, so thank you for your reply. Jacob and others who's running for council, who was bit by a dog. This mindset of we have to wait until something happens is unacceptable. And I look forward to working hopefully with you and others on some of these issues where we identify when these triggers happen, when there is this aggressive manner, that we have the stats on this breed, that have this trigger, that get upset and mad. Well, you know, that's unacceptable really for a human and a family and a citizen. And I just really wanted to express, you know, my concern vocally. Want to continue to focus on these areas. Again, area 6.57 specifically on transfer of ownership. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this. And I just really want to work together. I want to work on this public safety, my safety. I want the safety of the ownership. And, you know, if the owners are, you know, doing everything right, then we shouldn't have issues. But if things are transferred and owners are questionable and it's up to the citizens to recommend new dog collars and have animal control step in to do these, then, you know, we need to sort of identify those flags before they happen. So thank you for listening to me preach for a second. Thank you again very much, and, you know, I appreciate you taking the time.
We do have dog court, so we do take people who have dangerous animals to task. So thank you very much, and wish your family the best from us. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, this is the end of, yes, one more. Okay.
The mayor and
Good
everyone,
evening.
good evening. My name is Deborah Ferris. I live on 10 Mile Road in the Woodbine subdivision, and I'm looking for some help. When I moved in my home, I was allowed to replace a fence that already existed there. And I did so immediately because what was behind that fence was something you just didn't want to see every day. Several times I asked for permission to go onto that property to cut away the weeds and weed whack in order to be able to get behind it. I reached out when I realized there was water causing my fence to fall forward. The bottom of it was rotting, it splintered, and I had to have the post re-cemented. Early on, I realized that the yard contained a burrow. Groundhogs was living there. And I could see a hole, but it was covered with weeds. So why am I bringing this now after 23 years? Well, I am having a problem in my yard. And landscaper wants $23,000 to repair my yard. And what good is that going to do? I'm taking pictures now every day. That hole that I saw, he cleared up the yard last year. It's a whole pond. It looks like a swimming pool. It's standing water. And when it rains like we've been getting, it's overflowing, and guess where it's coming? Over into my yard. My yard's always wet, soggy, soaky. I reached out to him on the 27th of September, asking him, what can we do to work together? You know, my water commission has come, took a look over there, said, oh, wow, he needs to fill that in. But I've gotten no response. So I've been here to zoning, I've been to engineering, and now I'm talking to you guys. So,
What did engineering say?
engineering only took a look at my yard. We're talking grading, you know, some leveling or whatever. But that water is filling up and running out of that pond and running down. Well, I have many pictures. And it's just coming up under my fence and just sitting there in my flower bed. You know, when the rest of my yard is dry, that's wet. And
Could we send out a team to look at that again?
Ron from zoning came.
Okay, yeah, part of the problem is, because I have standing water in my yard right now, and that's a very unusual wet summer, and it's been very, very difficult. Has this happened before, or is it this summer?
I've been there 23 years, it's been there ever since. I've been
Okay,
there. I couldn't see it
because of the weeds, right.
how covered it was.
Yeah.
But now that he's had the yard cleaned up, when I heard someone over there, I got on the chair and a guy looked at me and he says, wow, do you believe this? I said, yeah, I believe it.
Okay, because standing water can be dangerous for West Nile.
Oh, the
and-
mosquitoes in my yard,
Yeah.
it's horrible.
Okay, so if we can, we'll have somebody from staff reach out to you,
Okay.
and do we have her information? Do you?
Ms. Ferris, I believe you emailed, did you send an email this afternoon or earlier this week to staff?
I sent an email to everybody.
Caroline Gar, she's a public services director. She's headed a meeting down the hallway.
Okay.
After we're done here, we'll get your address, your telephone number.
Okay, Ron went on vacation this week. He said, what I want you to do is keep your eye on it and see if the water overruns, like,
Well,
Really?
we have the head of the department here who's going to talk to you in the hallway
Excellent.
right now.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Hope we can fix this for you, or at least give some suggestions. Anyone else? Okay, this will now conclude the public questions and comments, and it's back to council member comments and announcements. Does anybody have anything? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Bridges.
No, only the election day is what, November 2nd?
Yes, it's
And-
next Tuesday.
And we urge all our citizens to go out and vote. And there's the question of council on the ballot, mayor, as well as public safety millers, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we want to remind you to vote. We do have, Ms. Smith, do we have early voting hours?
We have extended hours tomorrow evening until 7 p.m. and then we will be open on Saturday, November 30th from 8:30 a.m.
October 30th. October 30th.
Yes, October 30th. October 30th, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Okay, so if you want to vote early, you can do that. If you still want to apply for an absentee ballot, you have time to do that. And if you want to go to the polls, they're open from
7 a.m. until 8 p.m.
next Tuesday, okay?
Return your absentee ballots, we only have 43% back so far.
Okay. Dr. Massey?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, if we are coming to the Halloween season, as we come closer and closer to voting, it also means that we're at Halloween season. And if you and your family are looking for something safe and fun to do, there's a trunk or treat event that's being held this Saturday, the 30th, and it's a combined sponsor. It's being done between CARES of Farmington Hills and the Salvation Army, and they're very close to one another right on Shiawassee. The hours are between 3 and 6 p.m., and there are candy giveaway items. There are a number of folks that are participating in that as sponsors and just for something fun to do. So please make a note of that. I'd also like to extend my congratulations, and I think from council as well, to our city manager for
Yes.
his recent award by the Michigan Chapter Association. You got the Hultquist Award. So Gary, congratulations on all the work and the advancement of public works that you've done over the years. Well deserved.
Yeah.
But I have one last thing, and it's not as much fun as going trunk or treating or celebrating something. It just kind of rankled me, and that is that in Thursday's Observer, there was an article that was supposed to be reporting on something positive that we're doing in this community, which is looking at diversity, inclusion, and so forth with our consultant and why we're doing it. And as I read through the article,
The hair that you should have had stood on end, right?
what's that?
The hair that you should have had stood on end. Yes.
And I'm sure you probably read the same article,
Yes.
and when you got to the bottom, it bothered you as well, because the person who is heading up that effort made a comment, and that's what really bothered me, and because you focused on our police department, and we are one of the safest cities consistently in the state and in the country. And it starts out talking about community policing. And the quotes are, "The police are there to be public servants and provide public safety, but when the police department is a very homogeneous group trying to service a diverse community, there's a disconnect. You have a lack of understanding, a lack of cultural competency, and a lack of engagement because they are not having engagement on any other level than stopping someone violating a law." And that, to me, it made me extremely angry because it's wrong. It paints this city and it paints our police department in an incorrect fashion. Our police department has so many community policing efforts and has done so much. We're one of a few accredited police departments, which means they follow best practices. They were the only one of 3 that was re-accredited just this year. We have a program, this city actually set up a domestic violence response team, and it was the second one in this state, and they've been nationally recognized and trained people because of that. You talk about mental health. This community has, like every community, a lot of what our police department does is deal with mental health. And we just were awarded $300,000 to train every single police officer and every dispatcher, so everyone that the public interacts with, in critical incident training, which is like a 40-hour mental health first aid course, so that they are way and above what they normally need. We're the first department to ever put autism kits in every patrol car. Autism kits, so that if the police officer is responding to a situation where they have a child that's on that spectrum, they have teddy bears and blankets and other things to make that person. They've started so many different community policing efforts. Law Enforcement Sundays, they participate in Farmington Safe, the Suicide Awareness, the Mental Health Group, the Emergency Preparedness Commission, the Muslim Community Center, Neighborhood Watch. I could run down this list. They do Ellis training for our schools and our faith-based communities, drug back. This article makes it sound like the police department is not doing anything other than stopping people and writing tickets and making arrests, and that is false. And it really made me mad that our consultant is making a comment. There's some other things in that article that I'm going to lay, their editing or something like that, it didn't sit perfect. But to be able to literally, as a consultant for our community that this is paying, to make disparaging comments like this really made me mad. And I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I didn't read the article, and so I can't really comment directly on the article itself. But this community, and it's this council's goal to have a representative police department regarding the community of this community. And yes, the Farmington Hill Police Department does a lot of great things. In fact, Mr. Massey outlined a number of things that we've done, we do in our community that makes us a great community. But a representative police department is highly, highly, highly desirable in regards to even better policing, in my viewpoint. Thank you.
Yeah, but I also want to point out, because I did read, so we are now going to do a lot more publicizing of the things that we haven't publicized, which is probably our fault. That during the COVID period, when there were special birthdays for kids, our police department would have a police car parade that would go down and wish children happy birthday and attend special occasions. We have police officers that volunteer to check on residents that are shut-ins or who are elderly and fragile, whose family does not live here, to make sure that they are making sure that their bills are paid, that their house is clean, and doing minor assistance for them. And we also give away bike helmets, and our police officers are known to stop children who are riding with their helmets and give them ice cream certificates and other encouraging things. So it's a broad-based community effort that we have won many, many awards on. And when you say that there are few police departments that are accredited, out of the over 2,000 cities and municipalities and townships and villages that have police departments in this state, there are only 40 that are accredited, and ours is one of 3 that are reaccredited. So we have a very special police department here, and we don't like to arrest people who are need Narcan revival for a drug overdose. Instead, we transport to hospitals, and we recognize that certain people should not be incarcerated. They need extra help and social work, and we provide that for them. In addition, we have many residents who may get into trouble because they are lacking funds or other issues, and we redirect them to programs that can help. And I'm very proud of our police department and the fine men and women who serve us in our community. So I agree, it was a little jarring. And I also want to note that our fire department, every one of our fire department firemen and women are emergency medical trained. They are all EMS registered, which means we provide them 2,000 hours of training before they go in the field. So when you call 911 and one of our ambulances show up, every one of those people who show up are full paramedic trained. So that's why we have a high survival rate here in the community, and we are very grateful for the residents who support our police and fire department and for City Council in making sure that we have one of the best police and public safety departments, police and fire departments in the country. So, and that's all I'll say to that. Any other council member questions or comments?
Yes, I'd like to comment. A program they just had this past weekend was Take Back Drugs. So if you had unused medications, expired medications, and they usually get pounds and pounds of medications. Yes, there's only one small step in terms of narcotics issues in this country, but they look at it as a community thing that they do. And if you want to visit the police department, I know they're giving candy out on Sunday, so it might be a good time to stop in and say hi.
Very good. Hey, anyone else?
Nope.
Okay, city manager update. It was hard to get you out of town last week.
First Monday I've been back, I've been traveling like crazy the last 2 weeks. This year's Veterans Day celebration will be held on Veterans Day, Thursday, November 11th at 11 a.m. at our Caustic Center. I think everybody knows where that is. It's a very, it's a great event. If you haven't attended, it's well worth it if you're interested. Please call to register at 248-473-1830, or you can register online at https://hopefully people will know this, rec.fhgov.com, and your code is #CS1200-01, or you can just call the city manager's office. Fire department offers free car safety seat inspections by appointment only on Sunday, November 21st. 8 a.m. to noon at Fire Station 4, located on Great Road. To register for that appointment, you can contact Sarah West at swest@fhgov.com, or again, you can call the city manager's office for additional information. And lastly, I want to thank council for the recognition. Thank you very much. On my awards, it's been a heck of a ride. Couldn't have done it on my own. I shouldn't have done this because I know I break up, but it's a big honor to be recognized by a professional organization such as ABWA. Like I said, I couldn't have done it on my own. A lot of support.
You deserve it.
From in this room, and especially from City Council to allow me to attend. So I appreciate it. To my wife, I would be in a lot of trouble if I didn't recognize her. So thank you very much, and I always value council's continued support on professional development, not just myself, but staff.
Yeah, it was really hard to get him to go to this conference because he had been out of town the week before, and we needed him to go because this was a surprise honor for him, and he didn't know about it, and we didn't want to tell him. And we didn't want to make him feel bad for not being here. So while we knew that Assistant City Manager Joe Valentine could handle everything well, we didn't want to tell Mr. Mekchin that we don't need him. But we were getting toward that point, but his wife agreed to make sure that he was there, and he was totally surprised. And it was great. It was great. Next on the agenda is a public hearing. The public hearing is in consideration of authorizing the conversion of Biddystone Lane from gravel to hard surface, CMR 10-21-97. And hello,
Good evening.
Ms. Mondora.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, we're happy to provide information for the public hearing for the Biddystone Road Gravel Road Conversion Project. As you know, the 2018 local road millage provides a mechanism for converting a public gravel road to hard surface pavement by petition. City Council previously approved the policy for gravel road conversion in March of 2019. And based on this policy, petitions were distributed by the property owners along this roadway and submitted to the city. This initial petition had 22 of 29 property owners, or 75%, in support of a potential paving project. Engineering staff then performed the preliminary engineering and held an informational meeting on September 24th, 2019. At the conclusion of this meeting, a second petition was circulated for property owners to sign, either confirming or withdrawing their support for the project. Those not in attendance were sent a mailing with details of the proposed project, allowing them 14 days to respond and return the petition to the city. 21 of the 29 property owners, or 72%, signed the second petition in favor of moving forward with the project. Of the 8 remaining properties, 1 was not in support and 7 did not respond. Some statistics about the project area: the Biddystone Woods subdivision was platted in 1940 and a second portion in 1959. The gravel roads have existed since that time. The gravel road conversion is about 3,500 feet in length, or about 2/3 of a mile. Public water is currently available to only 9 parcels, and sanitary sewer is available to 19 parcels. Potential extension of public utilities would be considered during the design phase and discussed further at that time. This concludes my introduction, and Jim Kubera, our city engineer, and I are here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? You ready to open the public hearing? Okay, if you would like to speak, please keep your comments to under 5 minutes if possible. And we just need your name and street. We don't need your address number. And I'll now officially open the public hearing. So just come on up.
When I turned in my vote, my name's Robert McGinty. I signed by my middle name. That's the way I go all the time instead of my first name, so my vote wasn't counted. So they said I can come up here and clarify that Jim McGinty is really Robert McGinty, same person, and I live at 33114 Biddystone. And I vote yes.
Okay, thank you.
Next.
Hello.
Just get in line. Go ahead.
My name's Doug Green. I lived on Biddystone for 57 years. I realize I'm in the minority because I don't feel this project's necessary. But if you do go through it, I'm very concerned about the drainage. I experience flooding now coming off of the neighbor's yard, which comes off the road. And I'm also concerned about where the sump pump empties into the ditch, that these drains aren't covered up and that there's no blockage, because if it is blocked, that means basement flooding. And I'm also concerned about the timeline. I'm not sure of the neighborhood's name, but between Colfax and 8 Mile off of Farmington has been worked on, been paved, and the Park Hill Street at 12 and Orchard has been paved. And from what I could see, the days, maybe weeks have gone by with nobody working on these projects, although the project was started. This is going to be a tremendous inconvenience for me, for you to pave this road. So I hope if you do it, you require the contractors to have the job manned every day, because it'll be an inconvenience for me every day. That's all I have to say.
Okay, well, we will address that after the public hearing.
Madam Mayor and Honorable Council, it's nice to see you again. Can I just say one thing apart from this? You mentioned about the EMTs. I have 2 elderly sister-in-laws, or did, and unfortunately, they've had a lot of issues in the last 3 months, and there was something like 10 trips to their home and to assisted living, and they were remarkable, absolutely remarkable. My one sister-in-law has since passed, but if it wasn't for the EMT, she would not have survived for the last several months. So we not only have an outstanding police department, we do, I think, the best, or are among the best, but the fire department as well. Anyway.
Thank you very much.
My name is Ron Atcho. My wife and I, Rita, own 32744 and 32783, and my daughter Stephanie owns 32665. So we have like 10% of the homes. I wanted to say, first of all, that the staff did a great job in examining everything, doing all the due diligence. I have to tell you, too, that public service has been very responsive. When I've called them about the roads...
You are making my day.
No. One thing is, I want to... The public doesn't really understand everything that city does. It really doesn't. It can't. The fact of the matter is, despite good service and public service, I've been there 14 years. Every single year has been a deterioration. You know, it's idyllic in the summer, it's pretty and all that stuff, but frankly, whenever it rains, within 48 hours, the roads are bad and they're dangerous because we're now into the school season and people park their cars waiting for their kids to get on the bus. So you got to go around it. And you have all these potholes. As much as I like the scenic, it is absolutely dangerous and it's causing damage to the vehicles. The damage that's money. But honestly, I am worried. Plus, you also have a lot of deer. So you're navigating the potholes and not going in face on with another car and then dealing with the deer. My hope is that this project can begin very soon. But thank you for all the efforts you guys have made. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Kimberly Manavjian. Actually, Kimberly Petros, formerly Kimberly Manavjian. Today, I've contacted every single solitary resident in our subdivision. A, they were misinformed. B, there were no numbers to contact them. People have changed their minds. I have submitted letters, and I do have another one, to the city clerk in regards to the road. I have lived there 30 years. In the 30 years that I have lived there, I have never once seen a flat or somebody in trouble because of car trouble because of the roads. The city takes very good care of our roads in regards to grading them. And yes, due to the rain, we are going to get potholes. As far as the school buses are concerned, they're at the end of the road. We have a limited amount of children that attend school in our subdivision. It's a very small subdivision of 29 homes. There are people that live or that own homes in our subdivision that were never contacted until today, which is unfair. They deserve a vote. And I think that we should consider every single solitary person that lives in this subdivision an honest vote without somebody bullying or trying to convince them into this road. We have not heard what the engineering department plans on doing in regards to removing certain portions of this subdivision and reconstructing the entrance, the cul-de-sac, the beauty of this subdivision. This is why we moved there. The majority of these people that moved there for the ambiance because it's a country setting inside of a city. Personally, if you don't like it, move out. I mean, this is why we moved here. We don't want a city road. The majority of us really don't. That's why we're changing our minds. And again, we feel like we were talked into this or bullied into this, which is not right. We deserve a second vote, an honest vote of exactly how we feel about this road coming into this subdivision. It's going to cause a lot of friction. We have cars now that are going too fast. This is a tiny little subdivision of 27 homes. People are going to be zooming through our subdivision. This is going to open up to too many people coming in and out of our subdivision. We've had no crime. It's the safest subdivision, one of the safest subdivisions in Farmington Hills. We don't want to open this up to everybody. We want to keep it a secret.
Did you hand the affidavits?
I have another one, and I will give her the other one. I handed her 3, and I have a 4th.
Okay.
And I hope that you consider letting us have a valid voting system.
My understanding is there's been 2 petitions.
Well, I never received anything in the mail regarding this meeting. And there are several residents that never received notice of this meeting. So I never received anything.
Okay, well, we'll address that after the public hearing before we bring it back to council. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is Stephanie Acho-Tartoni, and I do live at 32665 Biddystone Lane. I have 3 children, and I can tell you we have suffered extreme car damage because of the roads, not because we were going too fast, but because of not only the chemical that you put on the road, it causes rail rust. I have an obsession with white vehicles, and I have to tell you, I've had to have acid baths done on the vehicles, but that's actually even cosmetic. But we have had undercarriage damage because of the dirt roads. I have lived in Farmington Hills since I was 6 years old, moved to Biddystone, not so much because of the nature, although it is a nice neighborhood. I'm very thankful and grateful to live in Farmington Hills, and I don't think paving a road is going to bring anyone down a one-street, dead-end subdivision more than a dirt road. So honestly, it's so recessed, nobody even knows we exist. That could be why, and also because the homes are more modest looking, perhaps that's what keeps them away, but paving the road, I think, would really be a safe measure. And also, I don't know if you're aware of the amount of car accidents that occur because of the way the road is pitched. It's a dirt road. There is a huge rock by the mailboxes. We have towed out so many vehicles that have just gone straight down and hit that rock. So I do believe that paving is an essential part of maintaining the beauty of that subdivision and safety. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Brian Esterberg, also a Biddystone resident. My wife and I have opposed the Biddystone paving for a long time. We happen to be the first house as you come into the neighborhood. Therefore, all the traffic goes past us. And one of our major concerns and observations is speed. Some of my neighbors talk about other factors, car damage and so on. Speed is the #1 reason that vehicles go off that road. Day in, day out, all day long, cars speed up that road. This is a dirt road. It gets rough. Cars go banging through there, well in excess of our posted 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. And the folks on the paving commission have, or on the road commission have assured us that their experience is by paving the road, speeds will do nothing but increase. We walk, and as many of my neighbors do, we walk our neighborhood in the evening, and cars not paying attention to the stop sign, disregarding the stop sign, disregarding the speed, have been a danger to ourselves on multiple occasions. I also want to raise Kimberly's comment about not everybody having a fair chance to vote. If I understood, and I may have misunderstood the comments incorrectly, but the last statistic I heard was that 1 of 28 were in favor, but of the 8 remaining, only 1 opposed. I know of at least 8 or 9 households in this room that oppose this currently, and I believe, other than myself, others did clearly oppose it and state our opposition. So I do question that statistic, and maybe I have misunderstood. But I would, like Kimberly asked, encourage another fair vote and evaluation and consideration of the speed. Lastly, I'd like to ask that if the road paving is to go forward, I'd really like to ask the city to consider 3 things. 1, including strategic placement of speed bumps or dips or humps to control the speed through there, lowering our speed limit to 15 miles an hour, and enforcing the stop sign and the speed limit. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Wally Quarles. I live on Bitterstone Lane also. And I might be one of the ones who was the bully, since I went and started the petitions back in 2019. As far as the speeding goes, I'm former law enforcement. I have not seen it. If there is speeding in that subdivision, I have a lot of contacts with Farmington Hills Police. I'm sure they would come and they could sit in my driveway and run radar any time of the day. One comment that I received from one of the neighbors was that the speeders that she sees are either the UPS drivers or the Amazon drivers. That can be taken care of quite quickly. So I still think that we have enough votes to get this thing passed, and that's all.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm Matt Dunker. This is my wife, Kristen Dunker.
Hello.
We live in 32621 Bitterstone Lane. We've been in the sub maybe 10 years, and I'm from Iowa. I literally grew up on a gravel road every day of my life on gravel. And our very first meeting with the subdivision was on paving. And at that point, we were being asked to pay for it. And my thought at the time was, these wimpy city people do not know what it's like to live on a gravel road. And after living there for 10 years, I was wrong. That road is terrible. It's much worse than the road that my parents live on and what I grew up on. As soon as there's a thaw and a refreeze, and I don't know the mechanism behind it, it is ice. And there was a morning where every road in town was fine. I had to call into work because there was an accident at the corner being talked about, and it was so icy that cars were just sliding down the hill. And so I was sitting with the person that had been in an accident, if I could say your name, Ron. Too late now. Ron and I sat in the car, Ron and I sat in the car, and I tried to wave people down.
We've known Mr. Acho for a long time.
Mr. Acho. I tried to run around and wave people down as they slid to a stop, even though they were going 5 miles an hour down this hill. And it was very unsafe. My wife, who is not an aggressive or a fast driver, literally got stuck on our road. If I get this story right, or do you want to share it?
Oh, yeah, I got stuck, and the tow truck driver who came to rescue me got stuck on the ice. And then a UPS driver tried to help me, and he got stuck. And then my wonderful neighbor in his 80s ice skated across the road to save me.
So then he was able to get the car out, but 3 vehicles got stuck, all in these icy conditions. So we live in the back of the sub, and I think that's part of it. I have to drive the longest in the morning to get out, and it's bad. There are mornings where I think I might get stuck. I haven't, but it occurs to me I might get stuck. And I have a Mustang. It's not the best car for off-road driving, but I should be able to drive on our streets. I'm wondering if a speed bump is something that could be considered. I think no one wants a lot of speed in our subdivision. I'm wondering if that's something that can help?
We can talk, that would come later. That's
Yeah,
part of
that's-
what we call it, the Safety E3 program.
Okay.
And if you are noticing speeding, then we come in with a crew and we talk to you about speed bumps and how they work. But we first monitor and do enforcement. And that's the third step, because just as it slows down drivers, it also slows down emergency vehicles. So it's a trade-off, but yeah. In fact, we'll be having a study session at our first meeting in November, which will be November 8th. And our study session, which starts at 6 p.m., we will be discussing 2 items, and one of those items is speeding in 25-mile-an-hour residential neighborhoods. So feel free to stop in for that.
And then the other thing I want to just mention, I don't understand the who received, who was made aware and who wasn't. I can't pretend to know that. All I know is that along with Wally, we tried to go around the neighborhood and get people to respond. Some people just wouldn't respond or just deferred. So I can't speak to that, but we've had 2 petitions now. To me, we've made this effort to go around the neighborhood, gather up and talk to people about what's going on. So the dragging the feet on additional petitions seems unnecessary to me. Again, I don't know what showed up in whose mailbox, but that's just, we have tried to make people aware of it. No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Sandra Seacrest. I live at 33085 Biddystone. I've lived there for 40 years. I don't know where the time has gone, but I just have a couple remarks to make, because I'm one of the few people who probably walk every day around the block, because I have a golden retriever that likes to walk. And I'm the first one to complain when it's muddy, I admit that. And at first I thought, yes, it would be nice to have the road paved. But since then, I've given it a lot of thought, and several thoughts came to mind that caused me to change my mind about being in favor of it. I just want to say, without offending any of my neighbors, because we have wonderful neighbors, everyone here, or who presently lives on Biddystone, moved to Biddystone on a dirt road. It's not that we're taking anything away from them. And probably a lot of you are too young to remember, but I'm reminded of a song, maybe back in the 60s or 70s, about they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Once something's gone, there's no bringing it back. And I'm just concerned that with the paved road, we are going to lose our ambiance, our little tiny country ambiance in the middle of a wonderful city. For years, whenever friends come to visit my house, the first thing they say is, it's just in awe, like, oh my God, it's like being up north, oh, must be so wonderful to live here. And I think sometimes we do take that for granted, and we need other people to come to visit us to remind us of how unique and how wonderful it is. And my concern is just that you can always pave the road, but you can never unpave it. And I personally would like to just keep it the way it is. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ken Weichel. I live at 33203 Biddystone. I also own 3 lots. My wife and I own 3 lots in the neighborhood. We own Gene Fox's old house at 33203, the vacant lot, and the vacant lot there. We did not vote for the paving, but if the paving goes through, I just have some comments that I'd like the engineering department and the council to consider. Prior to the engineering department proceeding with the expensive working drawings, can there be a work session with the engineering department and Biddystone homeowners here to discuss in detail certain areas such as trees, the width of the bridge, the water and sanitary sewer pipe alignments? Secondly, stormwater from 6 of the neighbors flows through our backyard and underneath our driveway. And with the heavy rains this year and in previous years, we actually had 2 washouts this year that have cost thousands of dollars to repair. So if it does go through, I request that we're allowed to work with the engineering department to, since the road will be paved, that will increase the rate of stormwater runoff. And we'd like to be able to work with the engineering department so we don't keep having washouts on our driveway as the water washes over to the creek. Thirdly, can the proposed paved roadway and shoulder be narrower than the standard to save trees and slow down traffic? That could maybe appease the engineering department, the city, and some of the residents. Many of the homeowners have trees in the right-of-way directly adjacent to the current gravel road, which creates the ambience that so many people have discussed. How will the engineering department preserve these? Fifth, widening the bridge will substantially change the character of our neighborhood. We request that the bridge stay the width that it is currently to preserve the vegetation along the edge of the stream and the existing roadway. And lastly, the road intersection past the bridge is currently a Y intersection, as you can see on the map up there. And that is where our mailboxes occur. The proposed new road layout has the road becoming a T, and how will that affect mailboxes and mail pickup? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Barry Miller. I live at 32863 Biddystone. First of all, I want to make a comment. I recently had a fire at my home, and I want to commend the way the fire department responded. They came there, they were timely, and they also were very respectful of my property. They didn't go overboard and bust out extra windows and tear up stuff that they didn't need to. They were very respectful, so I do appreciate that. But as to the paving of the road, the first time I ever came there with the real estate agent, I turned the corner and there were 5 deer standing in the middle of my road. I had never seen anything like that. I was shocked. It was breathtaking and really sold me on the property. But now that I've been there a few years and I've seen some of the problems that the road causes, I see people skid off all the time and get stuck on the snow. Maybe it is time for a change. Maybe it is time to maybe pave the road. So I want to be with the rest of my neighbors, and I want them to be in agreement, and I want us all to, because we have a great neighborhood. Everybody seems to get along. There's no crime. It's a great place to live. So whatever we decide, I want us to decide as a community, and let's come together and make a good decision. So that's all my comment.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Hurry. You almost got gavelled closed.
When will we find out, we've been hearing rumors about that they would do away with the cul-de-sac at the end of our street, back at the back of the property, and that the mailboxes would have to be moved. When will we find out, more details so that we can actually vote intelligently?
Hopefully that question will be answered in a minute.
Okay.
Before we vote, okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, Jane McGinty.
Okay, anyone else? Once, twice. This officially closes the public, the public hearing. I'll now bring it back to council if they have any questions, or most likely to staff. Could you answer some of the questions that were asked this evening? cul-de-sac, the width of the road, the culvert, the mailboxes?
Okay. This subdivision has some challenges, and a lot of the items that Mr. Weichel brought up we're aware of. But there are standards for roads for safety purposes, AASHTO requirements. Minimum road sizes typically in our neighborhood are 22 feet wide. We would be looking at something in that width. I think their road width varies from very wide at the entrance to very narrow, say 17 feet. And in the areas where there are trees, we would be sensitive. Maybe we could place curbing instead of ditching. Some of those things we don't have answers right now till we do preliminary engineering, and you wouldn't really know till you got further into it. But curbing can be used to minimize the disruption outside to avoid having to put in a shoulder or a ditch. Those are things we'd be looking at. Regarding the eyebrow, I think that's what the lady was referring to at the up end here. Certainly we want to improve that to allow for trucks to get through, your Amazon truck or your other smaller vehicles. I don't think a bus or a fire truck can get in there, but we need to improve access. To what extent, I don't think we can give you that answer, but we'd like to improve it so it's better than what it is. Certainly there will be some trees to be removed. Drainage, Mr. Weichel mentioned about, we're aware of that item that he talked about, the drainage coming through, and I think one of our preliminary thoughts were maybe to run a storm sewer in the center of the road to capture some of that water and run it around in the roadway itself towards the floodplain. But those are concepts right now, but they're ideas we're looking at. The mailbox situation, as with most neighborhoods, when you pave over the neighborhood or the subdivision, you need to get the postmaster involved to see where's an appropriate spot for it to go, where's a safe spot, and a landing to put it. And we would consider putting something. Obviously, there was a discussion about our big rock that's in the way. We've got to look at those fixed objects and remove those so that we do provide a more forgiving or safer road. We all like trees out there, but if you hit one, it can hurt and it can cause damage. So we need to look at, as I say, the forgiving road. So what can we do? We have to buffer for some of that stuff, and unfortunately, sometimes some of them need to be removed. And a lot of that we won't know till later on, and we can certainly meet with the neighborhood once we get some concept design. But I think the answer should be, I either want to have a road paved or I don't have a road paved, and not a conditional yes or a conditional no. It's very difficult to provide those answers at this time.
If we remove a tree, do we replace it out of our tree bank?
Yes, a certain size. I think it's got to be greater than 6 inches or so, but yes. If there's a spot to put it, we put it in close proximity. If not, we can shift it and move it.
Okay, and what would the caliber of that tree be?
They're typically 3 inches.
So if you take out a 6-inch, you're not going to put in a 4-inch?
No, they're not generally available from the nurseries, and they're very difficult to transplant at that size.
If you
So
bet,
it would be through the planning department's annual tree program.
Okay.
the neighborhood's pretty wooded at the northeast end. I think as you get further down on the west side and closer towards the main entrance, it's not as tree covered. But certainly we can consider putting replacements in close proximity to where a tree may be removed.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions, council? Val? Councilmember Knoll?
Yeah, I have questions. I'm not sure if you're the right person to answer it, maybe the clerk, but there's a lot of questions tonight or statements about how someone didn't receive something or did receive something. Could either you or the clerk take the audience through the process? I mean, some people here may know the process as far as how many votes are needed and the notification standards and so forth, but can someone walk everyone through it just so everyone's on the same page for the process, the petitioning process, notification/petitioning process?
I think I can address most of that. The only thing I think that...
Sorry, there's a ton of feedback in our mics tonight.
Yeah.
But Karen, you're hard to hear. Can you make sure when you speak and you're using the mic, it's hard to hear you? Thanks.
I guess we'll leave it for the city clerk to address the 10-day mailing in advance if one did go out. But regarding the overall gravel road conversion policy, which council adopted several years ago, the program requires a petition be submitted that's available online, or you can pick up at the engineering division. And it's a generic petition that you fill in the blanks for your neighborhood. We've done Park Hill, we've done Belfast, Canfield, We've done Pillsbury, which didn't go through, but that can be picked up, and usually a group of people in the neighborhood or in favor of a project will go over the neighborhood and submit signatures. In this instance, or in all instances, we need a majority of 60%. I haven't called a supermajority to at least get to the informational meeting level. And in this instance, that was brought in. It was confirmed by the engineering division. The signatures were checked, and it was well over 60. I think it was about 72 to 75% for this particular neighborhood. When we did receive that and we did verify it, we contacted the petitioner and said we would set up an informational meeting. And we did put together a PowerPoint presentation for the neighborhood, and we had a meeting at some night in 2019, I forget what the date was, and we answered all the questions that were brought out, and a lot of the comments that Mr. Weichel talked about were mentioned, and again, a lot of them were discussed. And at the end of the night, as per our policy, the neighborhood has 14 days to come back with a second petition, which is prepared by the city, which has specific items saying I'm in favor of it. I was in favor of the first petition, but now I'm not. And we can show you copies of that if you want to see it, but it's a petition specific to their neighborhood, and they have 14 days to bring that in. In this instance, those came in, we verified signatures. For those that we could not verify, we either called or contacted people to see if there was more information that would substantiate the names, and in some instances, we could not find that, so they were considered no votes. And in the end result, I think we ended up, for tonight's meeting, having 21 of 29 properties who were verified as being signees in favor of moving forward. And that's how we ended up tonight. I think there was one gentleman who added his name. We did originally have him as a person who submitted something, but we couldn't confirm his vote, so he was considered a no vote until tonight. So that 21 now becomes 22. A lady brought in, I think, 4 signatures today, which she says are no votes. I think when I talked to her before, one of them was originally a no vote, so that 22 now goes down to 19, is the way I see it. So that's where we're at tonight, and if you have any more questions on it, we can certainly try to address that for you.
Mayor, I do want to just indicate there were other letters brought forth, and they were all brought in this evening. That's why council did not receive copies of any of them. So I don't know if engineering, if we're going to recalculate anything, there's additional letters to be taken into consideration.
I would like to see a recalculation before we move forward.
We can do that in the next few minutes here, sure.
We'll take a 5-minute break here.
Okay, so while we're doing this, let's take a 5-minute break, and we will reconvene in 5 minutes while we're readjusting.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay. Valerie, can you hear me?
Council is now back in session. It was a little longer than 5 minutes, but we had math to do.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So yes, we have taken these letters into account, and there are two that are, we can't verify the ownership and the addresses, but assuming that they are valid no's, worst case, you're down to 17, still in favor of the 29, so that would be 58% in favor.
58 or 62?
Not discounting the two that we cannot confirm the, there's no address noted, and there's one that says he's changing the father's vote, so that one's kind of questionable. That would be 18 in favor and 62%. So you're between 59 and 62%, still a strong majority, and the policy is 50.
The one that he's changing the father's vote.
Right.
That's actually my son. My ex-husband and I will be divorced with children house for each one of our sons. So somebody had my ex-husband actually sign the petition when in fact he did not own the house. My boys own the house. Which signature that's on that piece of paper is from each one of my sons.
Okay, so we're now down.
Is 33158 Biddystone. And they live there. One is a resident at the home as we speak. So it's
No.
No.
One is it's one vote per house, but because they both own it jointly, they both have to favor. So is that one is to go? No, okay. But just to be on the safe side, they both have to favor. I'll vote no twice.
Are you a yes or a no?
Yeah, you were yes.
Okay.
And then what is the other one that you can't verify?
I'm checking it with, we have a number.
Oh, this one was already a no vote.
Okay, it was already a no. Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's back to council. Any more questions of our staff?
Madam Mayor, I do have a question.
Okay?
Ms. Mandora, we're over 50%?
Yes.
Okay. I have a motion.
Okay?
And I would resolve that the City Council of the City of Farmington Hills authorizes the conversion of Biddystone Lane from gravel to hard surface, and further resolve that the city staff identify a specific project schedule for this conversion consistent with the capital improvement program within the city's local road budget, and also accounting for any specific issues as presented by the conversion.
Okay, is there a second?
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Moved by Dr. Massey, seconded by Councilmember Strickfaden. Is there any discussion? Seeing none?
Well, I'd be happy to make a couple of comments.
Okay.
And that is, first of all, to you guys, one of the things that we used to have to deal with was special assessment districts, and we would be charging residents that assessment for the improvement of the road. And since the millage has passed, I honestly have to say we haven't had one of those kind of evenings. The mayor, Mr. Bridges, Ms. Knoll have all experienced that. And those can be really, really
Unfun.
divisive. I do want to say thank you, or a little bit of deja vu, only it's not as bad as it was. That said, the policies, as we would move forward with these, even when they were special assessments, was looking at the majority rules. That's how our system is set up. So if it's greater than a 50%, we would move forward. And sometimes they were very small. But one of the things I always wanted to comment on, because I literally have lived in this city my whole life. I lived here, our subdivision, my subdivision was gravel roads. In fact, I can remember when Halstead was first paved, when Drake was paved. The only thing that was paved was Grand River. 13 Mile, all of these things. And they were always kind of contentious because it does feel like you're changing your environment. But when it was a special assessment district, it would be very divisive because you, just like tonight, some of you want to see this change, some of you don't want to see this change. If this goes through, I don't know what the vote's going to end up being, but your neighbors, don't let it divide you, okay? It is too important, and you obviously have a cohesive neighborhood. I actually had, when our neighborhood went up, and I was way too young to be part of the thing, there were two homes, friends living next door to each other. One signed the petition, one didn't. Those two families put up a line of arborvitae between their houses and never spoke to each other again until then one of them finally passed. That is just, that was wrong. So, however it is and what your passions are, it'll all be okay, but the people that you live around are the people that you need if anything bad goes on in your lives and stuff like that. So don't let it divide you. It's just my suggestion.
Anyone else? Mr. Bridges?
Yes, just to add on Mr. Councilmember Massey's comments, which are well spoken. The fact is also in 2018, when we passed the citywide road millage, voters approved that millage. It also allowed the city to develop a policy that will allow gravel roads to be included in that. Whereas whereas the same thing, you will be able to benefit from that road millage because of the fact that we dedicate a certain amount of dollars each year for gravel roads to be converted to paved roads. That's all part of the 2018 citywide millage, which was approved by the voters of Farmington Hills, which we are very happy to have the opportunity for gravel roads in our community to be able to participate in the citywide road millage program, which allows roads to be reconstructed in our city. So thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Knoll?
Sure, I'll just comment. By the way, I live on a gravel road, so I know problems in the winter time when the paved roads are fine because they can be salted, and unfortunately you can't salt a gravel road. And unfortunately, I live right at the bottom of the hill, so everyone goes into the ditch, basically in my yard or right across from me. So I know that they can be dangerous. So I understand your concerns there. You know, on the other side, the people that don't want it paved, you know, there are a couple different concerns. They like the north feel, trees being taken out, speeding concerns. I think where the mailboxes are going to go, I think those were kind of the main concerns. Or the concern about the cul-de-sac, what that's going to look like. Those, for the most part, whether it's the shape of the road, the cul-de-sac, the widening, the trees, the mailbox location, those are all items that can be worked out with engineering. Once they are able to, you know, if this vote goes through and they actually start doing engineering drawings, they will be in contact with your subdivision and they'll be able to work out those items with you. So, you know, I just want to say that because hopefully if this does go through, then that would alleviate some of your concerns, the people that mentioned those items tonight.
Anyone else? Okay, I would like to add something as well. I am so glad that it's not neighbors taxing other neighbors. That was the problem with the with the special assessment districts. I am, like all of you, concerned about possible speeding through these streets, and we have programs to address that. And I do want a timetable as soon as possible for the residents to look at, and an engineering meeting. And I'm also going to ask that the city clerk, when notifying all of you, that it be done by registered letter return receipt requested, so that we can prove who did receive the letter and who didn't, because that was one of your concerns, that not everybody you felt was contacted. And I want to make sure that every resident is contacted so that they can, whether you were on the yes side or the no side, you have legitimate questions and concerns that you want to weigh in on, and we want to make sure that those are addressed. I will be supporting this tonight because the threshold exceeds our minimum, but more importantly, you are all paying into this road millage. And so I want you to avail yourself of the millages that you do pay for the city. And we will make sure that we do this in a very respectful way so that you all feel part of your neighborhood's discussion about the roads. And if we can do that by registered return receipt requested, we can probably send somebody out and knock on a door of a house if we haven't received that receipt back, to make sure that everybody knows and everybody's informed as to what's going on. And as I said, we do have programs for speeding, and that is a major concern of some of you, and we want to make sure that that's addressed to your satisfaction. So we will make sure that you're aware of what we're going to do along those lines as well. If nobody else has any, Ms. Newland?
I was going to say, I'm probably up here sitting in the seat because of the road village. I was one of the last that was going to get a letter to say, it's going to cost you a lot of money to have your road paved, or repaved. So that kind of the roads are very important to me. As I say, I know the difference between a paved road and a gravel road. My husband happened to grow up on Para Ridge, which is a very winding road just south of 14 Mile. And I always listen to my in-laws talk about how many times my mother-in-law had to get hauled out of the ditch because of the icy roads in the wintertime, or how long it took to someone who had to have ambulance services to get ambulance sometimes in on those icy roads. So just don't make this, neighbor against neighbor. I mean, see it as a positive, work together. If there's things you want to preserve about the neighborhood, I've been on many roads in this city walking, and I know that you can maintain the character of your area, even though it's paved. So I'll be supporting this.
And thank you for moving here from Iowa. We like it better here. Thank you.
Iowa.
Fewer corn stalks, nice people, Okay, I'll now call the vote. Is this a roll call or a regular vote? Straight up and down vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. Again, we will make sure that we send out any further communication that involves all of you by registered return receipt requested, so that you are all aware of what's going on. I don't want anybody left behind, okay? You're all too nice. Really, this was very civil, yes and no. Next is new business, consideration of approval of appointments to the Economic Development Corporation and the Historic District Commission. Dr. Massey?
Madam Mayor, I would move the appointment to the Economic Development Corporation of Mr. Mark Brucky to fill an unexpired term. His term would end February 1, 2025. And to the Historic District Commission, Marlene Tullis, with a term that would end on February 1, 2023.
Support.
It's been moved by Dr. Massey, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Bolaware. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously. I'll now call up the head of our EDC, Mr. Lou Cantor, for some comments. I have a blue slip.
Oh, my God. Used to it. All right, Mr. Cantor.
All right. Madam Mayor, City Council, and friends, glad to see you all. And I appreciate your being here. And I love Farmington Hills because of you all. And the way our public service department acts toward us and handles things that we need, it's perfect. And I want to thank you for your support of Mark Brucky to the EDC. When I first met Mark, probably 4 to 5 years ago now, he works with LTU, and he's involved heavily in a leadership position in a lot of EDC-related work. When I first met him, I told him that I wanted him to be part of what we're doing in Farmington Hills. And he thought I was joking. And I didn't think it would be possible. And now all of a sudden, he's going to be working with us in the EDC to make Farmington Hills better. And on top of that, of course, as you know, he's a citizen of Farmington Hills. So what a great combination.
And he's got innovation experience and
He's got
incubator
innovation
experience.
He's got grant writing experience. He's got connections with the state. He is number one. And so we're really going to be depending on him a lot. And actually, we met with him this morning, Dr. Massey and myself, and T.R. Carr met with him this morning to talk about just general EDC-related stuff, to make sure that he was indeed the right guy, as we knew. And so he's looking forward to working with us.
I'm glad.
So thank you again for your support on that. And I will tell you that there may be, as we move forward, some other movements. We may have a loss here or there. And so this is probably not the last time you're going to hear from me. But when we
Gosh, I hope not.
Yeah. Well, they're glad. But I also want to let you know, I'm going to segue here to a really important celebration that happened back a couple of Fridays ago on October 8th. We had a celebration of life for John Anhut. And because, again, of your support, we were able to, I was able to tell his family about the bronze plaque that is going to be placed on the west entrance of the 3rd floor of the Hawk, when and if we get it approved finally, the building. When that happens, there's going to be a plaque that you all approved. And they were stunned. They were excited and stunned when I told them about it. But better yet, from my perspective, and it was unique to me, I've always believed that, gee, it's really nice to have something like this happen to somebody who died, right? Okay. Well, they don't necessarily know about it, unless they're looking down or up or something like that, but I can't be sure where they're looking from.
I'm pretty sure John's up there, even though.
Oh, I think he might be.
Even though he had to make a big deal
He might
with
be in
St.
second
Peter
in
to get
command
in.
up there.
A strong
So
handshake.
anyway, I had the pleasure, and it was humbling for me, when he was in bed, barely aware of what was going on. I snuck in to Beaumont Hospital and told him what was going to happen. And it meant a lot to him. And so he died knowing that he was going to get this award.
Good.
So thanks again. Thirdly and finally, we're making a lot of progress at the Hawk. We're working with public sector consultants, as you well know. We're meeting with them regularly. We're doing walkthroughs. We're doing everything right. And in January, when you have your planning meeting, we're going to come to you with a great, I hope, I'm assuming, plan for what we're going to be needing from you and what we're going to be working toward to make Farmington Hills even better. So that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Cantor. As
pleasure.
always, it's always a pleasure to see
Yeah.
you.
Thank
And
you
it was
all.
always a pleasure to see John Anhut,
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Well, he was one of a kind. And that's why we named the plaque, we're going to name the plaque John Anhut Way, because there was only one John Anhut Way.
That's
It's
true.
always
That's true.
His way.
His way, exactly.
Okay, thank you
Exactly.
all.
Which reminds me, I forgot to say during council member comments and announcements, the maker space that we had the craft event at, I heard great reviews about that event, that people were buying like crazy, and that the art was exceptional. And I just want to thank our staff for putting that together, because apparently it was gangbusters, so.
The
I'm
synergy
really-
is going to be great.
Yeah,
The maker
yeah.
space
And
was
parking was very, very, very limited, difficult to park. That's
Oh,
how
that's
many
even
people
better.
were there, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that means it was good
Yeah.
attendance.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could have parked on the football field.
Well,
No,
someone was
I-
there.
They do it at U of
Mr.
M.
Harrington would have liked that?
I'll let you all get done and get home. Good night, and thank you.
Next item is 5A, establishing a subcommittee for the Sarah Fisher site. And
If you want, I can make a motion on that right now.
Please do.
Sure. This is a motion to appoint Mayor Barnett and council members Knoll and Massey, with council member Strickfaden as an alternate, to participate in one meeting as an ad hoc committee regarding the Sarah Fisher property at the northwest corner of 12 Mile Road and Inkster Road, for purposes of meeting with the property owner, potential developer, city manager, and staff, and up to 2 members of the Historic District Commission, if available, solely to discuss development concepts for the property. But this committee is not to make any decisions, recommendations, or promises regarding approval of any development proposals or concepts. And the meeting shall be noticed as a public meeting with the city attorney or a representative from his office to attend.
Okay, is there a second?
Support.
Okay, it's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Bolaware, seconded by Council Member Knoll and Dr. Massey. This is a straight-up vote, yes or no. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, and that brings us to the end of the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I would move adjourn.
Would you really?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a support? Support. It's been moved by Dr. Massey, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Bolaware. Sorry, I'm like getting your names all twisted up here. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Okay, we now stand adjourned. Good night, Farmington Hills.